Hello, everyone. My name is Mark from the Misplay Podcast, and you're listening to Eternal Journey, everyone's favorite Eternal podcast.
Welcome to Eternal Journey, the podcast.
Greetings, Knights and Puntawans. You are listening to Eternal Journey, the podcast that talks about all things eternal with a focus on limited play. I'm your host, Jedi, and this is episode 126 of the podcast, where we're going to be talking about the changes to Unleashed. Direwolf recently, or semi-recently, did an update, one of the largest draft updates we've seen, due to a potential problem with the format that they didn't like. We'll see if John and Alex feel the same way. That being said, let me go ahead and bring them on the show. Starting off with John Holio. How you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm all right. I'm so happy to be here. I'm getting jammed up with real life stuff this month, pretty hardcore. So really, really happy to be chilling here with you guys tonight.
Yeah, adulting can definitely get old. Thus why Eternal is such a great escape. And, of course, sitting across from both of us on the internet is Darth Herman 2. What's up, homie?
What's up, fellas? Good to see you guys.
No, you.
It is good to have you guys. Before we jump into it, want to give the usual thank you to all the supporters of the show. Really do appreciate you. Sandy Fur, Chastity Weaver, Old Rich, and the one, the only, the IP Team Killer Long No. Of course, I don't think he's killed a team member in a minute, so we may have to adjust his call sign there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for supporting the show, as well as everyone out there in YouTube / Internet's lands. You guys rock. And yeah, that's it. So you guys ready to jump into a pack one, pick one for Unleashed?
Yeah, for sure.
Sweet. All right. Starting off with the commons, we have Copper Hall. Oh, yeah, my bad. And then for those of you that aren't aware, this is one of the changes that Direwolf did. Now they are including reprints in the draft system. So now we don't necessarily have a draft pack per se. That's nothing but old cards. We actually have the reprints mixed into each set now moving forward. So starting off with pack one, pick one, it's going to be Copper Hall Recruit, the 2/5 Minotaur Soldier for 4 Justice. Orin Taxation, which is the 3 Shadow spell. Lifesteal, deal 3 damage to enemy player. Sleight of Hand is a fast spell for 3 blue. Draw 2 cards, transform each power card drawn this way into a snowball, which of course is a slow spell that deals 1 damage to any target. Midnight Tinker, a 1/2 Tinker for 2 green. Taunt, Entomb, give a unit or weapon in your hand +1/+1. Happy Harvester is next. This is a 3/4 Civilian for 3 time. Summon, Exhaust Happy Harvester, and Scout. Loot String Bow is next, a +1/+1 relic weapon for 1 red. Summon, deal 1 damage to an enemy. Cabal Associate is a 1/2 with Frenzy +1 attack for 1 shadow. And Frenzy, of course, is if the enemy player takes any kind of non-combat damage, then Frenzy triggers. And finally, Lab Minions. This is a 0/3 Tinker for 1 green. Summon and then Scout. John, which one of these commons stands out to you, buddy?
For the commons, I think it's a pretty easy Happy Harvester, maybe followed up with like Bow and Sleight of Hand.
Yeah, Harvey. I like Happy Harvester. I think there's gonna be some times where it coming in exhausted is gonna cost you, but I think most of the time the 3/4 body for 3 is just way too efficient and very solid, and I like it. It's not completely busted in this format because there is a handful of ways to just kill it, but I like it as well. Going into the uncommons, Alex, we have Majestic Skies, which is the 2 Elysian relic. Your units with flying have +1/+1, and then ultimate, pay 6 to draw a unit with flying of your choice from your deck. Bracano Tome, which is the green and red power, depleted on your first on the first 3 turns of the game. And then finally, Bell Tower Shot, which is a 3 shadow spell. Kill an exhausted enemy unit, or the enemy player discards a non-power card. Oh man. Discards a non-power card of your choice from their hand. Alex, any of these like speak out to you over Happy Harvester?
Oh, well, definitely over the Harvester. I wouldn't fault you for taking this Majestic Skies. It's shiny, it looks nice, but I really hate forcing that early. I'm on the Bell Tower Shot out of these uncommons. Just the solid removal in a frenzy color, which I like. So yeah, I'm on the Bell Tower Shot.
Okay, fair enough. Then the rare for the pack is going to be Rock Fort, which is a relic for 3 Praxis. At the start of your turn, play an etched Totemite, right, John? Totemite?
Mhm.
Okay.
You got it, Chief.
I second guessed myself. I was like, wait, is it Totemite? No, it's Totemite. And then
You're in your own head now.
Yep. Oh yeah, 100%. And then pay 5 to give a unit +1 attack, charge, and taunt this turn. Gee, why did they +5 to give charge? That's like counterintuitive.
Yeah, the charge is weird, but it's literally just because of the Totemite.
But yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like
because they die, right? It's just the one that just got played, and that gives you the option to just send that in to like deflect the block, right?
yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah,
It's the only reason, because like literally, if you don't really have enough power to play like a meaningful unit that turn and then pay 5.
yeah, exactly. You need 7 power to play a 2-drop and
Yeah.
give a charge. It's like,
It's just to give you the option to use that totem because of the way these Totemites
yeah.
act.
Got you. Fair enough. Oh yeah, and the Totemite is what the 1/1 that gives you a power at the end when it sacks it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's the 0/1s
It's 0/1s
that die every turn.
Wait a minute. Oh, that's why it gives it the +1. I was like, wait, internal you can't attack with the 0/1, but it gets it the +1 strength. That's
Mhm.
right. Okay, cool. So, all right. Yeah, I'm kind of with both you guys on this. I like Majestic Skies, but it is obviously you're hedging your bets, right? It could be a complete dud in your draft, and it could be a complete bomb depending on how you draft it. Seeing it early can kind of go either way, right? John, where are you on your build arounds? Do you like to see them early and kind of adjust your picks going forward based on around it, or do you want to see it somewhere mid pack and know that people ahead of you aren't building around it?
You know, I kind of like it both ways. Like I think it's best when you get fed something a few picks in.
Yeah, I guess.
This is like a double risk because of like the nature of the buff. It's like not only does Elysian need to be kind of open, but the flyers need to also be. Okay?
Now, the flip side to that, though, is with Majestic Skies in particular, it is a build around, but at the same time, you're not committing too much. You're not taking bad cards to make this card better, right? Like you want flyers in your deck anyways. So I think for me personally, versus some build arounds, it's like every time you play an attachment, so like maybe you have to take more attachments than you want to, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like there are some build arounds that I think require you to kind of go a little bit further off the beaten path, versus Majestic Skies. It just kind of rewards you for doing the thing that you typically want to be doing in limited anyways.
Sure. I guess my point there was more like sometimes the packs just don't deliver.
Yeah, fair. Good point. Yeah, you're not wrong there. You're definitely not wrong there. That's something I've definitely learned a couple of drafts myself, where I'm just like, was I reading the signals wrong? And it's like, nope, the packs just didn't line up right. But the flexibility and diversity tower, lol, of Bell Tower is really solid as well. I do like the fact that it's discard of your choice, so that's sweet. And then yeah, Happy Harvester is just all around safe. So what would you have gone with in this pack, John?
So like this was one of my packs, and because it was shiny, I kind of skies when I drafted this pack. But honestly, like looking back at the draft, I think I kind of forced it a little bit, and I think my deck was a subpar Sky deck, and I regret not going with Bell Tower Shot. So like now getting a do-over, I think I would Bell Tower Shot.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Yeah, hitting their hand with that card, by the way, don't underestimate the power of doing that.
Yeah, I think there was a bigger deal, you know, in the format before the one we're gonna discuss tonight, when it was just like, oops, all unleashed. But it's still great.
All right, so moving into the main topic of the show, on the first of the month, and you can catch the article on the show notes, I'll add it on there. Eternal or Direwolf decided to do a Unleash patch notes and live bounce update because they felt like they were not having the limited experience that they felt they were. I mean, obviously there were some buffs and nerfs to constructed, but this is a limited focus podcast, so we'll worry about that on another show. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be doing today, is discussing all the various nerfs, and how they affect the format, and then kind of check in with Alex and John as far as like what changes they've made to adapt to it. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. I'll go ahead and read, like if they have little explanations for why they did it, I'll read that, and then we'll kind of go into each one. So start. Go ahead, John.
I'm just saying, cool, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Get on with it.
So the first ones are the draft-orientated buffs, because they did buffs, side buffs, and then nerfs, I believe is the last one. Let me double check. Yes. So starting off with the buffs, right? While some of these changes could impact Constructed, they were primarily made with an eye towards draft, particularly in improving Frenzy and providing them a deeper pool of cards to synergize with that strategy. So first off, we have Hydrate, which initially, hold on, is the new one. All right, can now be played on your units and put only, wait, what?
This is quite different.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
So Hydrate is, let me see, does the picture show the old one or the new one? Give one of your units +1/+1 or +1 health.
It's the new one.
Then okay, cool. So Hydrate is 2 and a blue for a fast spell, has Unleash, so obviously every time you play one, you draw an additional copy into your hand. Give one of your units +1 health, then put a copy of it into your deck. Oh, wow. So,
yeah. Do you have our old ratings for this?
I do. Let me pull them up.
Yeah, because I want to, like, for most of these cards, I want to refer back to how we rated it before and kind of how we rate it now. This is a wild change to this card in particular.
Yeah.
So
Find Hydrate. All right, there we go. So we gave it a D-. So go ahead and
no, that's crazy compared to this new version.
Yeah, so go ahead and kick it off, John. What do you think of Hydrate?
Yeah, so it's like the bottom line effect is like the same. Give one of your units +1 health, but I've played this now in a number of my drafts, and man, if you have like, ideally you have a few good or like, you know, better than average units or whatever, like, or certain cards that work really good with kind of this effect. And so like an example that I've had come up in multiple games is like, you're playing Primal, obviously, so maybe you have a what's the from the last set where you can transform one of your units into a 5/5 killer.
Oh,
the Primal card.
Yeah.
So
I don't remember what it's called, but I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, so I've had that card, for example, or like
Learn to bite.
Yeah, Learn to Bite. Thank you. Like, so I've like hydrated my Learn to Bite unit, you know, like after a turn or two, you know, you're attacking with, obviously after you kill or something with it, you're then doing stuff with your 5/5, and this can not only like help you in combat to maybe like, you know, blow out their blocks, but putting like multiple Carnosaur, you know, multiple 5/6, 5/7, it scales every time you play it, right?
Yeah, that sounds pretty
back in your deck. Like if you draw one or two of those over the course of the next few turns, it's like so good. So this new version of this card for me has gone way up. Like I still only want it in decks where I have, you know, access to maybe a few units that are like that level of impact, right? Like, but yeah, and I think I only want like maybe one. I typically only run one copy. Even if I have two in my pool, I think at the end of the day, I still only like run one of these because it's like game state, board state dependent and stuff. But man, I think every time I've done this thing, I've ended up drawing at least one copy of like the card I put in my deck, and it's like it's it's kind of neat. Like I really like this new version so much more than the D minus prior version.
Man, that sounds pretty. That sounds pretty sick, honestly. Like, oh my god, just drawing a bunch of killer in limited. Just, I'm not only gonna add to the board, I'm gonna take something away from yours because I rock. That does
Yeah,
sound pretty sick.
I have this in my current deck, and like I think in one of the last games I played, so I already have. For some reason, I have two of the rares, the 4/4 Unleash Dino with Overwhelm,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, like you already want to just spam those because they buff the ones that are already in play and everything. And so in one of the last games I played, I just did it on that. Like that's the exact kind of unit, right? Things with Unleash are great to draw, because it's like every time you draw that extra copy, you're actually drawing like 2 or 3 copies, however many you get to play, right? So yeah, I got to do that, and it was amazing.
All right, what about you, Alex? What's your experience with Hydrate?
Yeah, it went from people not playing it to people playing it a lot and doing the things that John was describing. Like this card is quite good, and like John said, I think one is fine of this card. It's definitely up, maybe like C plus.
Yeah, like C plus, right? From D minus, that's a big change.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a big change.
Yeah, that's over a full letter grade. I'll adjust the spreadsheet as well because the link is in the Discord, I think. Oh, and you can also catch it on Shipstone. They have it there as well with their draft tool, so you could definitely multiple places check out the show notes with our ratings.
I haven't tried it yet, but I heard that they've literally updated the power calculator today.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
Nice.
I hope that's true. I somebody that worked on it posted on the main Discord, I think.
Nice. All right, next up is, let me get the Feln Adept. This is the 04 Elf Bat for 2 Feln, flying, +2 Frenzy, which means, once again, anytime the opponent takes non-combat damage, +2 Strength this turn. When Feln Adept hits the enemy player, draw one of the top 3 cards of your deck, put the rest on the bottom. We already thought this card was awesome, but it went from a 3 cost to a 2 cost, so a full turn sooner. Sending it to you, Alex. What do you think of the old Feln Adept while I'm looking up what our grade was on it?
I mean, we must have had it decently ranked. Like the fact that this costs 2 now is just so good.
C plus is what we got.
Yeah, so this is like easily like a B minus now. At least that half letter grade or a solid B. It's first pickable. I've done it several times. Frenzy is like, it's like, the first sentence of what you said is like they really are push Frenzy with the fix or whatever that they did. So like Frenzy is just a really good mechanic that like just gives you payoffs for like doing damage to your opponent, which is what you want to do anyways. And like drawing one of the top 3 cards is like, if you get this going, it's like basically game over, So yeah, this card's great. Easy B now for sure.
John, what do you think?
I agree completely. Like the only change is just the cost reduction by 1, but it's not only that, like Alex mentioned, it's like they kind of warped the whole format to support it a little better in general. So yeah, it's great now.
All right. Yeah, a small change, but we've definitely learned that tweaking some knobs can make a card from playable to unplayable and from unplayable to busted. So
If
really
you get it to
more
where
about
like
the support cards.
right, and this one's great. Like if you get the 1 power on it at all, I can like attack freely almost.
Oh yeah, you put like a weapon on it, or just buff
or
it
like
through
even like you know,
the-
the captain. Give it
Yeah.
a power from the captain or whatever. All of a sudden, you're swinging. You know, so yeah, it's good.
Cool. All right. Next up is Griffin Bomber. This is a 2/2 Griffin for 4 green, flying. When Griffin Bomber attacks, it gets +2/+2 this turn if you have a relic. Was 5, now is 4. So now at the very least, this is kind of like the Val. Well, I mean, I guess there's a lot of 2/2s for flyers for 4. That's kind of the eternal standard, I think, for the most part.
The low end standard, yeah.
Yeah, because we do see some of them for 3, so fair enough.
I mean, this one went from like I don't want to play it to I'm okay with playing it.
Yeah.
Basically,
Basically.
it went from like begrudgingly playable to like C minus maybe. I mean, it's real easy to get relics in green, you know. So it attacks.
Yeah, whether you like it in your deck is more dependent on the other cards in your deck still.
Totally.
But now you're not just completely embarrassed like playing
Like
a
2/2 for 5 was so bad. That was just bad.
Yeah. I 100% agree for sure. Because I mean, you're only getting like a 1 power discount, right? We see typically there's a handful of 4/4. I mean, they're rare, but there are 4/4 flyers for 5. So yeah, I agree. We had a D minus, so what? A C minus now?
Yeah, sure.
D plus.
D plus. Okay, fair. Yeah, I can go with D plus. I mean, we're definitely not. I don't think
It's still like the
busted
last card I want to play. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
In an average deck, like without just a bunch of randomly support.
I'm not putting bad support for no reason.
Exactly.
Speaking of 2/2 flyers for 5, can I interest you in a 2/2 flyer for 6?
You cannot.
Ice Glider is now a 2/3 flyer with Aegis for 6 blue. And summon, deal Ice Glider's strength and damage to an enemy. I remember us being pretty low on this card before. Let me double
I'm okay
check.
with 1 in the deck, in a frenzy deck especially.
We're at C minus for this one, so go
There you
ahead.
go. I don't think it changes much really. I think if they would have made it like a 3/2 flyer, like you could do one because it always just doesn't kill the thing you need it to, and then like going face is kind of like, okay, I'm killing you this turn with the face, so it's still I think just stays at exactly a C minus, maybe a C, but not much of an
I
upgrade.
think it just goes up to a C for me. That 1 point of health makes a big difference.
At
It's
least
like a
I mean,
3 point.
you could block a lot more things.
it could, yeah, exactly. It could tussle with all the bad flyers we were just talking about and not
Mhm.
die. So fair. I mean, it actually blocks Felon Adept and the Bomber. So unless they buff Adept more than once, and of course, unless Bomber they have a relic. So
Yeah, and just like, you know, Alex kind of was laughing about going face, but like this is just one of those little things they did to like turn the knob on frenzy in general.
Mhm.
Where
Yeah,
sometimes
exactly,
going
yeah.
face like pops off multiple things on your board, and it's quite good.
Yeah, exactly. Lets you kind of get in there. Yeah. Next up is Last Call. This is a spell for 7 green. Stun an enemy unit. Give one of your units +2/+3 lifesteal and taunt this turn. They added the lifesteal part, which I do think is relevant. You know, there's the cycle of these 7 power spells that do something that we were like, well, they got to do a lot because they're 7. So this one we gave it a D. So does lifesteal change the dynamic at all for you, John?
It doesn't. I still have like yet to need one of these in my deck. I don't think this changes my grade on this. Like it's definitely better, but I still don't want to play it.
Yeah, I think really it being 7 and giving taunt, this is kind of like your game winning spell, right? You play this, force their blockers to like make the blocks to change and then get in there. So I mean, I guess the life still helps you not die on the crackback, because sometimes you do need that second attack, right? The first big attack kind of brings them down to danger close. They fall down to like 2 or 3. Even if you don't kill them, it puts them in a compromising position where they may not have attacks or whatever. And that life steal is like the insurance where they don't just kill you on the crackback. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, still 7 power is a lot, especially in a format with Unleashed where you could just be casting more than one creature a turn. Alex, what do you think?
So like I Winvoke this card, and like it basically won me the game. So I was like, man, is that card good? Like I think in the perfect board setting, or it like can do amazing things. Like I think it's a great like market card or something. But I don't. Yeah, I still like the red one better than this, even though it won me that game. But yeah, I think it just stays the same.
Yep, fair enough. D for last call. Tomb of the Azure Mage. It was 9 to pay the ultimate, and it's now 8 is the change. So, Tomb of the Azure Mage is a relic for 2 blue. Frenzy, draw a card, then discard a card. Sweet. Ultimate, pay 8 to deal 1 damage to the enemy player for each spell in your void.
I'm still not looking to do this really.
So slight question, because I actually haven't seen this card in play.
Sure.
So if you have 3 spells in your void and you activate this, does it deal 1 3 times? And then so it triggers frenzy 3 times? Is that how it works?
No.
Okay, so it just deals, if you have 3 things in your void, it deals 3 damage and it triggers frenzy once, and that's it, right?
Sure.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Just curious, because I was like, well, maybe, but yeah, no, if it's all right, let me see what we gave it, but I still don't think this card's worth it. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, we already like we're playing it more for the looting effect.
Yep.
But looting, or like triggering frenzy is a little easier now, but I don't think the grade on this card changes.
Yeah, no, we gave it a D.
Yeah, I think that's still fine for average limited deck.
Agreed.
Yep, fair enough. Let's see here. Through the Unknown is they had to buff this? That's what it
Yeah,
was.
it's
Not
fast now.
Jesus. Wow. Yeah, Through the
It's
Unknown.
so
It was
good.
it was already wow, okay. So Through the
So
Unknown.
now it's like mid combat frenzy trigger for you, you know?
Yeah, holy
Yeah.
snikes. All right, fast speed. 1 shadow. Draw a unit from your void. If it's a shadow unit, deal 1 damage to the enemy player. Let me see what we gave it, but I mean, this is already a reanimate, but a
I think we
recursion.
already like this card.
Yeah.
Of course we did. But we liked it more just because of the format before, where we were all about
Bringing those little
permanently
units back.
buffing
Yeah.
unleashed units, which that's not really the focus of as many decks now. But
This
now
card
we
got
just
better,
like it
more
more
valuable
because of the
still,
frenzy, like you said, mid combat.
This one we gave it a C.
Yeah, I think it's definitely higher than that now.
Like I've first picked this card many times. I could easily see it being a B minus,
Yeah,
like at least a C plus,
B
but
minus.
B minus. Like I want to lean B minus because of how good Frenzy is.
It still works with those unleashed cards if you do end up in a deck like that, like we talked about more before. But yeah, now mid combat frenzy and stuff, it's just like has so much more value. Or just like your best unit maybe is in play and you have 1 power up and they kill it on their turn. It's like boom, you can get it back right then and there, and then just drop. Maybe you wouldn't have had the power to just drop it on your next turn without that.
And then like the Frenzy deck has really good enter the battlefield effect units, like the 3/3 flyer or the like rare the 3/3 Yeti. Like, and you'll get that if you're in that deck because no one wants that card. And like you like get another trigger. Granted, you don't get the 1 damage off of it, but so that's why it's like versatile. I love that card.
All right, good to know. So B is what we're going with.
No, like C plus or B minus.
Okay.
I think B minus probably.
Okay. B minus. I like that. All right, let's see. Yeah, I like it. It's just a good card. Party Crasher was a 3/2, is now a 4/2. Party Crasher is a 4/2 Oni for 5 red. Charge, taunt, summon. You may exhaust an enemy unit. So essentially gets rid of 2 blockers. It's kind of a top end finisher. That makes it really weird that they bumped it up to 4, honestly, in my opinion, because it kind of goes back to me being the finisher of your aggro deck, right? You play it, exhaust one of their blockers, it takes away another one with the taunt, and then the rest of your team gets in for lethal. So I really personally, I don't feel like this was a big change at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it has
I disagree.
okay, please break it down.
No, like I just like I don't know. I've definitely found myself liking it more and more now. It's just like in games where I've had this, I think about the situation like, man, what if I was here and it was still a 3-2? Like they're, you know, the board state maybe like they have just a happy harvester, and something else. Well, now you get to get the other thing out of the way and kill that happy harvester like that. That's like a pretty big break point. And I kind of disagree with the finisher for this card. Like, I think playing a fire deck, you probably have 2 or 3 of these because, ideally your 5 slot is all captains, but because you only get 1 pack of the old set, that just doesn't really happen anymore. So I find myself playing maybe at least 2 of these in my average fire deck. And you're not just relying on like the others, like that other 5 drop from this set, the 0/5, the grizzled guy. Because there's many more frenzy enablers now. So yeah, I definitely don't see this as just that top end finisher necessarily, like kind of you described.
Okay.
I think it's definitely a buff that I can feel. What do you think, Alex?
Like for me, the fire decks that I'm playing, granted, I do play this card if I'm somehow in a fire deck that's not frenzy somehow. Which in the frenzy deck, I really love the 0/5 because it triggers all your things and then it beats face and it like is the great finisher for that. So I tend to put that guy in the deck over this guy. But the fact that this guy is a 4/2, like you said, it gets rid of more things. But if the board is kind of wide, you could still block it with the same things you could before. So like it's kind of like a buff, but not too buffy, I guess. Like
Yeah, it's just a nice buff. Like I would definitely go up, the fraction of a letter grade easy.
easy. Like I like the 4 just for damage, like hasty on an open board, like that it's 4 and not 3. That's huge. So like, yeah, like I could see if it's a C plus now, maybe if it was like a C, or I don't know what we had it at.
We had it at a C plus.
Then you think strong enough to be B minus now?
Man, we were already that high on this. Oof.
Like, because I don't see me first picking this card ever. Basically, there'll be something
I'm just
else
like
in the pack.
I'm more open to playing more copies for sure.
I mean, we
than
don't have
what-
to change our rating. I mean, we like it more.
Oh,
we
that's
like
true.
It more,
It could
but
stay
it's
at a
still,
C plus.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Yeah,
I thought we
think
would have had
C
it like a
plus is still
C.
the right
Yeah, I
score.
think it's correct. C plus.
Dang, I definitely thought we were like on a C with this. Okay.
All right. Next up, Panic Ensues is, let's see. Now the enemy unit also deals 1 damage to its owner. Panic Ensues is a fast spell for 3 shadow. Unleashed. Give an enemy unit -1/-1 permanently. It deals 1 damage to its owner. So obviously another frenzy trigger tacked onto a either semi removal or straight removal card. Alex?
I like it. Like easy C plus for me now. It's like one of the enablers that I use most often when I'm in shadow. And when you get to 6 power and having like 2 triggers in the same turn with the same card, it's mid combat. Like, yeah, I like this card.
What did we rate it at before?
D plus.
I figured, yeah, like I don't want to go up to C plus with this. I think it's like just a C now for me.
I'm cool with that. Easily C. That's fine. But that's way better than D plus for sure.
Yeah.
Like I'll run multiple of these,
Yeah, most.
It depends how many,
Other
payouts
enablers
you have
I
for
have.
Frenzy. Like,
Correct.
yeah, just this being like another common card, in your possible cards. Like, yeah, it's way better in the format.
All right. Northern Collects is a let's see. Now costs 2. What did cost 3? For 2 in shadow, you get a life steal. Deal 1 damage to an enemy player. They discard a card of their choice from their hand. So, I don't know. I just don't like cards that give them the choice, right?
Mhm.
You're never gonna get what you want out of it. So I don't know if this is just
Unless what you want
is
is
the
the
frenzy.
frenzy. Yep.
Or when it's one card.
Yeah, but that doesn't honestly come up very often
I
for
mean,
me.
I've had it happen. I've done it to someone, but also just the frenzy trigger. I don't like running more than one of this card. Um, but the frenzy trigger is, how bad do you want it?
Yeah, this cost reduction definitely makes it slightly more playable and less embarrassing.
Like it's like probably like just a C for me now, C minus maybe.
What do we give it before Jedi?
D.
Yeah, definitely like D plus C minus now.
Yeah, they made these cards like way more playable.
Okay.
Like they didn't for sure.
We'll go C minus with Noter and Collects. Let's see. Concealed Derringer is a +3 plus. Oh wait. Now there you go. Was a +2 is now a +3. So
Weapon.
+3 +0. Weapon for 2 red. Frenzy. The wielder gets quick draw this turn. So I think we like this card just because of the quick draw at fast speed, right? So it's kind of like an onboard trick. Let me double check and see.
This is another one where it's like the buff when you play this versus how it was. It's just like because they added more fast triggers at common, it's like a kind of a big buff.
Yeah,
Because not only did they just buff the baseline stat, it's like they added all this other support for the effect as well.
And then just like putting it on a Scaly Gruon is pretty good too. Or on the 0/5 wall, like
Or just any unit with Aegis, Borderlands
or
Lookout, Eagle,
Yeah.
whatever. Like this
This
like
card's
I
good.
have liked this card so much more now, and I kind of liked it already.
we were actually a D- on it.
I think I was a little higher on it, but like, really, we said D-? That can't be right.
That's what's showing.
Well, that's definitely not right anymore.
Well, then we're like, yeah, we're definitely upping it. Then this is like probably like a C plus.
Like when I've been playing like Skycrag or something, and I'm kind of aggressive. I've
Yeah,
been playing like 2 or 3 of these in most of my decks like that.
three's about the cutoff, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so C, even C.
C minus.
Okay, C minus.
B.
C minus works.
Okay.
It's strong. Like man, that's a lot of stats.
Yeah, for real, and it obviously combos very well with quick draw. So, all right.
Yeah, I've just ran people over with this card. Like, you just feel a little dirty sometimes the way like the game plays out.
I mean, let's be
It's
honest,
like,
John. Do you ever feel dirty smashing somebody?
Often.
Oh, fair enough.
It's like the good kind of dirty.
Oh, all right. Fair enough. All right. Next up is Bust Out. This is, let's see, was 6 is now 5. That makes sense because yeah. Spell 5 shadow, kill an enemy unit. It gets void bound. So, I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like this is a big change, but maybe I'm wrong. Alex?
I think you're right.
Yeah, no, this card went up a lot for me. Like it's probably just a straight C or C plus now. It gets rid of whatever and no shenanigans from the void. Like,
Yeah, this
for
is
5,
like a nice answer for like a captain or something. Like normally you feel kind of bad, putting removal like this at a captain, right? Yeah, 6 to 5 is kind of a big deal. Like I found myself going from playing 0 copies of these to like, I don't know, average deck playing Shadow, like maybe 2.
Yeah. It just has a higher chance of like actually being power, I don't know, balance, I guess, where you're not paying 6 to kill a 4 and feeling miserable about it. The chance of you paying like 5 to kill a 5 or 6 are a little bit more bearable, right? So
And it helps the curve in Shadow a lot because like at 6 you're like more trying to do like a Midnight Hunter or something.
yep. So where do we bump this up to?
What was it?
Shoot, I actually just changed. Hold on, let me undo it because I think
Control Z, Control
yeah,
Z.
yeah, D plus. There we go. That's what we had it at.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's more like a CC plus now for sure, like Alex said.
Yeah, for some reason I already moved it. I guess one of you said C while I was clicking on it, so I just typed C in there. I was like, wait, yeah. So C then. I don't quite think it's like still efficient removal, or is it? I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys have played more of the format than I have.
It's close. No, CC plus is fair. I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
If you
fair.
think it's
I'm cool.
efficient, then it's probably still a C plus, right? Because like really
Mhm.
efficient removal we put at B, so it's probably C plus then, right?
Works for me.
Right.
All right, C plus for bust out, and that's all the straight up buffs. So now we're gonna do the side buffs. Though we believe each of these cards has become more powerful in each instance, it's either not strictly better or has significant enough functionality changes that crafted copies are eligible for a full refund in Shiftstone. Again, much of this is with the eye towards improving Frenzy, with a few changes outside of that, with the hopes of giving new and increased purpose to a handful of cards that are currently not seeing much play even in draft. First up is Core Repairman. This is a 3. All right, so hold on. Now 5 cost 3/3.
Quite different.
Yeah. Now a 5 cost 3/3 with Summon. You may discard a card to play a Valkyrie with Flying and Warcry. A 1/1 Valkyrie with Flying Warcry was 4 cost 2/3 with Ultimate Pay 3 to play that unit. So 3/3 for 5 green. Summon, you may discard a card to play a 1/1 Valkyrie flying on Warcry. I mean, right, the gameplay here now is that you pitch a power you don't need anymore and you get a unit out of it. Is that kind of
or like, yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. I don't know, like it's definitely a buff, but I still don't find myself playing this card very often.
Like if you can find ways to combo with that guy that the 1/4 when you discard or a relic goes to your void and whatever means it like turns into the 4/4 crazy guy that when he attacks, like you can go off in that way with this card, but it's still not great, I don't think, because the discard is real. Like I find it like I'm always like waiting a turn to discard a power because I don't want to discard something real.
Yeah, you're definitely not getting a card's worth of value off of that either. A 1/1, I don't know. I'm not very
only when it's like later in the game and it's literally just a power that you just never need.
Yeah.
But in this format, like getting to 9 sometimes is where you're trying to get to. So
yeah, exactly, and it's counterintuitive to that as well, right? Because yeah, just like you mentioned, you're in a world with Unleash, you want like you have something to do with all that power.
Yeah, and some of these other cards, like like that 1-drop where you can discard and fetch a power, like the reason we like that with the discard is because it costs 1, which lets you like do something with that Unleash card that was just gonna get discarded anyway. This costs 5, so that's like never on the table.
We gave it a D plus.
I don't think that changes.
I don't think so either.
All right, yep, fair enough. Next up, Forgotten Youth is a 0/3 civilian for 2 shadow. Summon Scout. Frenzy, you gain 3 life. After the 3rd time, transform Forgotten Youth into Alicia Unafraid. Now gains you 3 health on Frenzy. It was 1. I mean, 3 health multiple times sounds like a lot. That really changes the clock. I remember this was the card out. I can't see the backside of it right now just because I'm on the website. But I remember we felt this card was too slow, right?
Yeah, because you're just getting like beat down while you're. So this one got changed again on multiple axes, right? Like the 1 health gain to 3 is huge. First of all, like that's the difference between like a fraction of a turn and like a whole turn.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
As far as like damage. And then not only that, it's just like we've talked about already, all the new and additional ways to trigger Frenzy on your turn, on the opponent's turn. Like things are fast now. Like this just got a lot more support, generally speaking, as well. So this is like way better.
And I was trying to get this to go off before, like, so now I even like it even more.
Okay, we had a D.
Mm-hmm.
So are we gonna bump it up?
Like C plus maybe, or yeah, I think C plus is probably where I'd rate it.
Okay.
Because it is still kind of a build around, but like man, like even if you don't have like the best build around support for this, it's just like that 3 health is such a big difference. Like that kind of like helps you buy that time you need.
And if it flips, it's like such a unique unit. Like, does, you know, fun stuff.
Yeah, and once it's flipped, like it's always flipped, right? So if they kill it at that point, when you get it back, it's still the good side.
And you can get it back at fast speed now. Haha.
You can kill their 0-5 blocker.
Oh, wait, they did change something. Okay, I didn't realize that they actually put the card right below it. Okay, my mistake. Alicia Unafraid. All right, now a 2/4 lifesteal unblockable. And when she attacks, swap a unit's strength and health. Was a 1/4 unblockable with Frenzy 3. Or Frenzy plus 3 strength and lifesteal this turn. Huh. Okay. So the backside, obviously, like you mentioned, 2/4 for 2 shadow in case you got a recaster, lifesteal and unblockable. That's pretty sweet. Like a 4-point life swing unblockable is definitely a clock. When Alicia attacks, swap a unit's attack and health. That could be hers as well. And the thing is, it also doesn't say until end of turn. So
Yeah, that's permanent, right? Yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of sick as well. So yeah,
Although two is killed by a lot of stuff, so beware.
fair.
Yeah, but by the time you flip it, a lot of it's like a lot of their removal slash cards in hand are already kind of spent, and typically, especially now how powerful it is, players like will remove it before it flips, like if possible, because they're trying to kill you, and you gaining 3 life every time you trigger frenzy is already like just that annoying. Where they're just trying to kill this thing immediately, right?
Yeah, I agree completely.
It is a lightning rod every time.
All right, next up is Dune Wave. This is for 3 time you get a fast spell with Unleashed. Put a unit with flying on the bottom of its owner's deck. Now costs 3 and puts enemy unit with flying on the bottom of the owner's deck. Was cost 4 and silence and bounce attackers back to their owner's hand.
This is just a completely different card.
Yeah.
This got the Cloud Scraper treatment.
Yeah, this is like, it's not even remotely the same card. I agree. What do you think about it now, John?
I play this card now as opposed to never play it.
Yeah, we had a D minus.
Yeah, it like whether you want copies of this is still a little dependent on your deck. Like if I'm in Skies with like 1 or 2 copies of Majestic Skies, it's like you're already just owning the Skies, just with like the bigger flying units, plus like you're probably wider anyway.
Mhm.
So like in a Skies deck, I think you probably care less about this effect. But when I'm like, time X like chonkers or something, this is like a card I want 1 or 2 copies of at least, typically, because a lot of players like there's like more flying units on the other side than in an average format. So I think this new effect is just so much better. But yeah, like I said, it's kind of dependent on your deck whether this is premium or not.
What do you think, Alex?
What John said. I play it now.
Fair enough. So we had a D minus. What do we want to do? C minus?
C minus.
All right.
Yeah, C minus or just a straight C.
All right.
C minus, I think.
We'll go C minus. All right. Next up is Yeti Pugilist. This is now 1/1 with Frenzy +3/+3. Was a 1/2 and Frenzy +2/+2. Yeah, I mean, a 4/4 beater essentially for 1 is just 4/4 is
Like
definitely
it could be a 7/7. Like it doesn't stop. Like it.
Yeah, I've had this be like a 12/12 or whatever.
Yeah, and does like I just did 7 and then 14 damage, and I just played a game before this podcast that was 14 damage by turn 2, and I was like, I love this card.
Yeah, it's crazy now.
It's crazy.
The burst potential is there.
Okay, so let me look at what we gave it.
Like it's still kind of a build around ish.
Oh
Total
wow,
build
we
around.
gave it an F.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, like, but it's easily for me. It's built around like B plus or whatever. You can like kill someone very fast.
Yeah, like before it was just like the stats were worse and the support for it was worse. And now it's like buffed on both ends.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those cards where your opponent is forced to blocking it, because it's when you don't, it's like sweet, take 12. It's like
It's
what?
reckless.
Yeah, it's turn 2 for you, and you play the bow and do a damage to their face, and then hit them with the bow. It's like, okay, there's 2, and then here's 7 from this guy. It's like
Turns 3, 4, and 5, this thing's going in there, and like you just have like Thunder Pop in hand, and they're like, they're just gonna block it every time. It's like, surely this turn you don't have it, and you're like, nope, I do.
Yep. All right, fair enough. So where do we want to put it at now then?
I think build around, right? It's very
but
strong.
it's almost like Frenzy is so pushed that it's like, if you're in the colors that has this guy, it's like you'll have stuff. Like, I don't even know if it needs to be built around. Like, just C plus on its own, B minus, or like build around. I guess whatever.
If it's build around, like if we're not gonna do a build around, I think maybe just a C. Like in the worst kind of deck like this, you like, you play it when you have some of those cards in your hand that
Right.
can make it pop off, and then like ideally you also have something like Midnight Hunters, right, where like your plan is already like get in, and then I'm gonna run out of steam with this thing. Let's use the body for sack fodder or something.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we want to give it? Build around B, build around A.
If we're doing build around, like, B minus or something. Otherwise, just a C.
Okay.
I like the build around grade then.
Yeah, I like it too. I think so because you're definitely not just jamming this in your deck with just an average looking deck.
Okay.
Let's see. Next,
quite different from an F.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very much so. All right. Let's see. Thirsty Bat is next. This is now a 2-1 with Frenzy Lifesteal. This turn was a 1-1 Frenzy Lifesteal. And okay, so they just made the 2-1 permanent. I obviously think this is an improvement. 2-1 Bat for 2 Shadow Flying. Frenzy Lifesteal this turn. Yeah, I mean, I think now that it sits at a 2-1 makes it just solid, right?
Yeah.
Like even without Frenzy around, a 2-1 flyer for 2 is always like playable. So it has all kinds of gravy. Yeah.
Like the multiple frenzies in a turn is like not that common, and like I don't like so it is. This one is definitely a true side buff, right? Where like if for some reason you did have like the burst support to get that +1/+1/+1, right? Like it could have been better, but it just wasn't supported enough. And I think now it's just a better base card, right? With that upside.
Yeah. So probably just an even C.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Yeah.
What do we have this one at? Probably like a D something, right?
Yeah, we had it. D plus.
Yeah, straight C now.
Alrighty. Praxis Adept is now a 0-1 mage for 1 Praxis. +1 maximum power. When Praxis Adept hits the enemy player, you get that much power this turn. So now it takes some work. They thought it was a 1-1, now it's a 0-1. So was that too powerful to get additional power? It was a 1-1.
This is so weird
wasn't good,
because now it like
used it.
can't hit the enemy player.
Yeah,
But now it's just a mana dork, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, now it just like ramps you, and then you can get more ramp.
I still don't like it.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
think it's
matter.
the same rating for
We
me.
gave it an F. Yeah, we gave it an F. So
Yeah, I still just don't like it.
I mean, it got worse, so there's no way we're going up on it. All right, fair enough. So that does
Yeah,
it.
the only 0-1 mana dork I liked is the one that gives killer to your next unit. Like,
Yes,
that's
exactly.
nice. This one, no.
Well,
Plus, there's like dual faction.
so,
Yuck.
see, that's weird. Yours must read different because mine was always give killer to your next 0-1 that gives killer to the next thing.
Yeah. I know where you're coming from there.
Do you, John? Because I don't think so. You always would get a revenge unit. I get like
Yeah, but I
my
spectate.
yeah,
I
fair,
spectate a lot, you
fair,
know.
fair. I'm just chaining 0-1s with killer.
No, that's happened to me plenty, man. I'm just, messing around.
All right. Let's see. And then the nerfs, the straight up copies of refunded. The 2 Unleashed flyers were among our best performing commons and led to some repetitive experiences over time.
You think?
We hope both of these versions are less powerful and more varied than their previous incarnations. Aerial deployment can now hit an increased range of units, hopefully making the card much more varied in practice. So, these cards were busted, and so they attempted to nerf them. First up is Insect Swarm. Now cost 3 power for a 2-1, or a 1-2 versus a 2 power 1-1. Insect Swarm is a 1-2 insect mob for 3 time, flying, ambush, and unleashed. So, John, you can take the first one. Talk to me.
Yeah, so this is like the biggest change in this whole patch notes, right?
Yes.
It's like this is like what has completely warped the format more than anything else, because if if you listen to our last 2 episodes, half of our grading and reasoning was based on how prevalent and overpowered Insect Swarm was. Like, I mean, we're already kind of getting there on time, but like we could literally do a whole episode on cards that we've already rated that weren't changed themselves, where our grade was just completely decided on this card, Insect Swarm, such as like Double Doors, for like a perfect example. So this is like just such a big change, right? Like, this card going to 3 costs means it's like so much harder to do any kind of meaningful like unleash shenanigans with it in draft. Like, this is like a format warping change, like, by far. So they like added all these support cards for the other strategies while nerfing like the marquee card for this strategy. Like, you just don't really get unleashed in every draft anymore. It's like this, it made this like the format is so much more fun now. Like, you still end up in like an unleashed deck occasionally, and like I think Insect Swarm, when you're playing like a Skies deck, for example, is still quite playable, but it's like, yeah, the grade on this card is way different now, right?
Yeah, we had a B+.
Definite down from that.
Anything to add on that, Alex?
No, I mean, you pretty much like nailed all the points about it. It was a menace before. Like, I mean, I gripe to you guys. Like, I'm like, I don't like this format because of this, and pretty much feel they had to do something about this one. Maybe not so much the other one we're going to talk about, but as far as grade, this one's like maybe just CEC minus now. Something like that.
Yeah, I think without doing like any kind of build around with this one, yeah, it's like C minus now.
Okay. C minus. All right, Alex, you can take point on Green Stretch Griffin. It is a 2/2 Griffin for 3 blue. Flying unleash if you have another flying unit. The change was now unleash if you have another flying unit, was always unleashed.
Yeah, the nerf is real on this one as well. You still play it. If you have some support where you can get the unleash, great. But it's really not that great anymore. Before, when you had the Unleash Guaranteed, it was a card that, you know, you wanted multiple copies of. Now it's probably like, again, a C- now, just like the other one. This one I don't feel needed to be nerfed, maybe. It wasn't as much of a menace as the other one, but yeah, it's definitely feels the pain.
We gave this one a C plus. Do you think it still holds that, John?
It's probably more like a C now, where it's like just kind of on rate, because it's still like, I mean, if you just if your deck is built in such a way where you're always going to have that flyer, it's still just as good, and you'd want to run as many copies as you would have before. But that's not like trivial to do. But the more copies you have of this card in your deck, the more likely it is, right? Like that you can, you still would have probably, if you had like 4 copies of this previously, you still would have ran one out on 3, right? So like in those decks, it still plays out basically the same.
It is like a card that you target now with the skies to go get. You're like, because I could play 3 of them, next turn or whatever.
Yeah, or like this also, like the change I think opens up more counterplay where, maybe you just had some dorkier flyer that was out there from turn 2 or 3 or 4, and you're like it's like getting close to like turn 6 where maybe they have this card, and like maybe then you'll prioritize killing that flyer that maybe you would have let sit there for a couple turns.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives this card some counterplay, even though like the only way you know that they have it is if you had like looked at their hand previously or something. But like, you notice patterns like this in a draft format, and like I find myself doing that where I have the removal that maybe I would have saved, and it's like, now, well, let's kill this flyer just to keep them from being able to even do this.
That right there, Jedi, is why John is next level for me and you.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, just that those last few sentences. But for sure, that's a great freaking point, John.
Yeah, I mean, that's just something that's come up plenty for me. It's like, yeah, you know what? Like, and sometimes you see it coming, right? Like, they already played one, and fast speed, they went through the unknown and like got the one from their void, and you're like, oh, they're about to play this again, but you had a thunder pop or whatever as well, so you could just kill that flyer that you were going to let chill.
Yeah, very solid. And yeah, like you said, that's why John is our subject matter expert always. Sweet. So probably you said just an even C for it now?
Yeah, I don't think the grade comes down much, if at all. Yeah, like C is fine.
All right. Next up is Aerial Deployment. This was a card that was broken, and then they fixed it.
Like bug broken.
yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you for clarifying.
I mean, did they really fix it though? Because there's some pretty crazy birds out there.
Yeah, it's still kind of broken in the other way.
Yeah. So Aerial Deployment is an 2 green spell. Unleash, create and draw a random Valkyrie or bird. So essentially, at first it was broken, where it was only generating what? And it
like
generate
you couldn't
any
get
Valkyrie?
the reprints.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So it was like only Valks from this and the prior set, which were all like good to great.
Then they fixed that to where you can get any Valkyrie, and then now they added essentially another set of random pool that it could pull from, but then there's also means a random set of like better cards it could pull as well. So
yeah, most of the birds in the format are good to great. So it like diversified the specific cards, but like the quality of cards didn't really change. It's like a handful of bad ones, mostly good ones, and a few great ones. It's like, but it's like technically the cards that you see played after somebody does an aerial deployment are a little more diverse, like as far as the specific words on those cards. Like the effects are mostly similar.
As far as the cards that are beating you down, they are more diversified, yes. But
Yeah,
they're
like
still beating you down.
But it's like still just a good
flyer.
flyer.
A Helena, or the 4/3 that does damage to a flyer, or and it still can be the 4/6 like Valor Lifesteal. It's like the card's broken. This card, like, is this really a negative? Like it's like a side thing for sure.
Yeah, it's like now you get to play Nostrixes.
Like,
Whereas
did it go
before
up?
you didn't really
Like,
get to play that
did
card.
the value go up now, even though they say it's a nerf?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Let's see where we put it at, because I think we were like super high on this, even without it being broken.
We tried to. It was hard because when we rated it, it was still
Yeah,
literally bugged.
We gave it a B.
Yeah, I think it's still a B, maybe even a B plus. Like this card's still just phenomenal. It's super. It is still
First
quite
pick, it
hard
wins
for, like,
game.
high.
It's great.
All right, so B plus still, or move it up
Yeah,
to
maybe
B.
let's just correct our grade from a B. It should have just been a B plus already. It's just
Yeah,
great.
that's fine.
Fair enough. All right, sweet. And last one is Stone Skin. Now +2 health this turn was permanent, so that was straight up nerf. Was this card even seeing play? Oh, sorry. Stone Skin is a fastball for 2-time. Give a unit +2 health this turn. It deals battle damage equal to its health this turn, and wait, what? It deals battle damage equal to its health. Sorry, okay. It deals battle damage to its. It deals battle damage equal to its health this turn and can attack even if it has 0 strength.
So the change is like it's no longer a permanent stat buff. It's just like just for the turn.
Yeah,
it's still playable, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't really feel like
some people were quite high on this card.
I just don't think it was. No. I just don't think it was. The permanent was like that busted, right?
I agree. Like, I don't think my rating of this card changes.
No,
maybe at all.
I'm
the
same. It doesn't change it much.
Yeah, we gave it a C minus, which I think is fine.
I think that's still fine.
That's fine.
But I don't know. I was trying to reread it because, like, I just don't think that was. I mean, we've seen other cards that buff health permanently, and none of their iterations have been like broken. So I don't understand why they felt the need for this one.
I don't know. I don't know either. But like, literally, a lot of people were, like, in my opinion, higher than they should have been on this card. Like, there some people really, really liked this card.
Yeah, like multiple copies.
It really didn't change for me. Like, I still play like one or two. It's literally just a combat trick in time, and like its function in game really didn't change much for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree. Okay, fair enough. I mean, we've definitely seen them do it before, right? Where they just they hit up cards that apparently they were looking at that just no one had anything on their radar, It's that random, hey, especially we've seen that quite a bit in Constructed when they were doing those kind of state of the format buffs where like, hey, we're gonna nerf some cards that are just too predominant, and then we're gonna buff some cards to hopefully make them see play. And it's like these really off the wall corner, like, man, I didn't even know I had that card in my collection type stuff. So, all right, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think the card's still fine, right? The main reason you were running it was for the whole combat trick-ish aspect of it, but I just don't see the reason. My point was just I just don't see the reason behind the nerf. But
I agree with that. I think it's just part of. I think their philosophy on this one was just like they were just trying to tone down as many angles as possible of time and draft, because time was just like just everywhere.
Well, you know what? I guess with the aspect of Unleash, right? Because that was the big thing that we talked about on the last show was modifying your Unleash cards in any way.
Permanent, giving the permanent buff to one of the Unleash units is probably the main reason why.
Yeah, so that's it. Now that I think about it, that's probably the reason why they targeted it, is just because you do it once to save your Unleash unit. Now that it has additional 2 health, so when you bounce it, do it. That's
you're right. It is. That's annoying on the 2/1. It's like, yeah, I could see it being like
it's just
a little strong, but it's like whatever.
With consideration of all the other changes that we just talked about, like maybe this one, like I don't think this one was necessary at the end of the day, but I'm fine with it. Like
being cautious. Yeah, I'm being fine. I'm fine.
Yeah. With this. I think they accomplished what they set out to do, which is like really shake up the draft format and kind of balance the colors a bit.
Yep. So
they made it way more fun and playable for me.
Yeah, and you guys are kind of already talking about it. So let's go ahead. Where are you guys at on the format? Just some broad stroke stuff, like in general enjoyment and whatnot. Because I mean, obviously, we could probably call it a show here, and we are. We'll go more in depth of what you guys are doing and strategies and whatnot in
Hmm.
the next show. But like, I don't know, you guys pretty happy about all these changes and whatnot? Does it feel a lot better? Like you've already mentioned, the balance of the colors has improved. So
I wasn't really hating on it when it was imbalanced, either. So, I mean, I just love draft. I do think, objectively, I think the format is better. Um, but like, if you can't beat it, like I was willing to succumb to the dark side previously, where I'm like, I'm just gonna be this unleash. I'm just gonna play TJP like again and again and just wreck people or
yeah.
whatever. Like, like I'm not above that. But yeah, I think the format's better. I prefer a more balanced format. It definitely felt bad sometimes when you're just drafting all these like bad cards. It's like half of the fun of the draft is the drafting, and when you're choosing between bad cards, it doesn't feel great, right? Like it's still like the set. I think what they wanted to go for was like a synergy set, right? And I think now that goal is also more accomplished, right? Like they just added so much more support for like frenzy and like the other strategies without. And this is like, I think they needed this big of a shakeup because they didn't have that tool that they had previously where they could really change up the weightings and the cards in like draft packs because those don't exist.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Yeah, that's a very solid breakdown. I like that. Alex, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm glad they did it. It was like John was saying, like, yeah, I'll beat down with that deck, and yeah, I will too. I'll do that. It was also a format that had me considering, and then finally did it, putting the card where when you draw an extra card, makes it cost two more. Like I put one of those in my deck to like combat the double door and
I've played it now too, man. I'm right there with
right,
you.
like that, or like other cards that like the small board wipes really prioritize like caustic rain stuff like that to like clear the board. Like I'll play in that format, but like I'd rather not have to play against that oppressive deck and like it's way more like you could still do it, like you said, it's just not broken now. And Frenzy, which them pushing Frenzy and then playing it a lot and even being successful with the deck that I thought was not a good Frenzy deck, it's definitely like my deck of choice. And triggering Frenzy is what I'm wanting to do. So like maybe they altered it too much that way because I almost want to force it because I know it works.
Yeah,
But
I
you
like
know,
half agree with that, but like no, I still find myself just playing Time X Chonkers plenty as well.
yeah, I've done it, but
I
like
think I think the frenzy thing is literally just because there's something about that strategy that's really fun.
it's like super aggressive, which is my nature. So like I like it. It's like yeah, damage. So
I just like see I'm less aggressive in nature, but I'm tricky. And we talked about all these ways they added like the fast speed interaction. Like I love doing stuff like that in like mind games.
Yeah, I always feel like I would pick the wrong thing. I'm like, they don't have oh god, I got blown out. Or like, man, I wonder what this going. It's kind of like what was the mechanic that when something, as long as it attacked this turn, you could get a trigger.
Onslaught?
Onslaught, bro. I was so bad about that. I'm like, what is this attack? What's going on? Oh, this, and then the onslaught. I'm like, oh, I got wrecked. Gosh darn it. Son of a
Right.
gun. I was so bad about that. Like nobody's business. Oh well. All right. I think we're good to call it a show there, guys. Went through the changes. You guys did a great job bringing it down and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, it's nice that when they balance it. I'm kind of with you. I don't mind it. It just depends how long the format sticks around, right?
Hmm.
I think if the format, like especially the winter one, is normally the one that sticks around the longest, when that one kind of has a defined quote unquote best deck and it's kind of the thing that everyone wants to do and that's it. And the fact that we're not drafting in pods means it's not self correcting. Like, I yeah, I can see that getting old. But every once in a while, if there's a format where like, all right, this is just busted in the thing to do, then it's like, okay, cool. You play it, you enjoy it, and you move on. But I mean,
You know,
And I like that they let you do it for a little bit, and they're like, okay, guys, it's time to reel it in. Like
yeah, but I mean, you mentioned self-correcting. Like, I did find before they made the changes that it was getting harder and harder to be in a good version of that OP deck. Like,
right, everyone was drafting it for
yeah,
sure.
like like the way they do eternal drafting, like it was self-correcting in some aspects. They're like it just, but at the same time, it also just kind of made it worse when you ran into a just completely busted version of that deck. You're like, I'm in this deck, but mine's so much worse. Like, oh,
Like a strategy I would try in the days before the fix was like, all right, I'm going to try to play the best Rakano, not Rakano, but Stone Scar, because those are the colors that aren't really in that deck so much. So like you can get all the good cards, and like it worked a few times.
mhm.
Super aggro, low to the ground. Yeah,
yeah. Sweet,
but yeah.
guys. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out. It was great chatting with you guys as always. Thank you to all the listeners out there. Hope everyone's enjoying the format. And then the next show, we will do a check-in and kind of start going into detail as far as removal and deck builds and kind of key cards that are standing out to us. But that'll do it. So thank you so much for listening. Until next time, as always, happy gaming.
Good night.
Good luck in your draft use, everyone.